Rhyperior is in Pokemon in DPP-OU. While not being a true OU, it is... I see it's the UU right here. It is more than viable and can be very effective given the proper team support. Now, in this incredibly monotone voice, I will be explaining the efforts I have in building a DPP-OU team centered around Ryperior as a primary threat. Okay, drop the intellectual crap. Basically, yeah, Ryperior is fun. It has like it's just big number. Big number, it gets bigger, and then you make it go bigger, and it hits really, really hard. But also, it just doesn't die. So, we're gonna make a Ryperior team. First off, just like basic Ryperior. You can kind of just throw this wherever. I kind of like just chucking that in but F. Cause I don't really know how many base 40s there are. But Ryperior as a whole, don't use Lightning Rod. There's no reason for it. Solid Rock is just an amazing ability. So there's a few options we have. Choice Band is an obvious for. This is a bulky, slow breaker. You got your like Stone Edge, EQ, Mega Horn, because Ryperior gets Mega Horn. So really be slamming like those Latias, those Starmie switch-ins, or for whatever. And then we can look at the other coverage here. You've got, Aqua Tail could maybe be useful. Not really, though. Double Edge just for decent, like, raw damage. Focus Punch, if you really want to go at it, you can probably try that. But, like, none of this seems super great. Outrage is pretty bad. Maybe Rock Slide has, like, a actually decent option. Oh, yeah, don't use Focus Punch if you have Superpower. But, like, Rock Slide, in case you don't want to miss Stone Edge. Superpower is definitely usable. Anything in here? Oh, Ice Punch for Gliscor. There we go. That's a decent set already. But, like, Choice Band, it's a little prediction reliant, and, like, sometimes being locked into EQ just kind of blows. So, let's look at what else we have. Choice Scarf is a no. Sash. Leftovers is definitely usable. Life Orb is certainly as well. You can do something like Life Orb SD, Life Orb, just like SD3 attacks, sub SD, Life Orb. Yeah, that's just a decent set right there. But, like, in general, I don't think Life Orb is going to fit on the type of team that I'm going to be building. I want Ryperior to be semi-usable defensively and offensively. Like, it is an offensive breaker, but I like having the ability to switch around with my teams, and just getting worn down super quickly is, as you'll see, not going to be how this Ryperior set that we'll settle on is going to function. So, what else we have? Don't use the berries unless you've got a really good reason. Maybe Resist Berry. In sand with a Pasho, it could probably survive like a Starmie Surf or something. Yeah, just like surprise it, blow it up with Mega Horn. That's actually a really interesting idea. I might try that later. But no, for this, we're going to settle on Leftovers. And why we're going to do that is because I want to use Substitute Ryperior. Because while Quake Slide is great coverage, even better because you got Stab Quake Slide, and like Mega Horn just is a nice complement to that. I don't like it's just kind of nice to be able to click Substitute in a scenario where you know they're switching out and not have to risk a Stone Edge or predict an EQ or Mega Horn a switch. So that's why we're gonna go Substitute, and Leftovers pairs very, very well with Substitute. As for the last move, because Mega Horn, it can be nice, but I feel like it's not essential. So instead, we're gonna go with Swords Dance. Why we're gonna do that is because Sub Ryperior can survive a lot of, like, it's got a surprising amount of things that won't break its sub because of Solid Rock. Like uninvested Jirachi Iron Heads. Oh my goodness. Like, if we take a look at the calcs, learning OBS is hard, by the way. It's a struggle. Let's go with DPP. Yeah, so we're going with Lefty's Ryperior. Now, Ryperior, it's not OU. Like, at it is absolutely flawed, and it's great in UU. Oh, another set it can run is like offensive stealth rock. You might see that in a later generation. Yeah, that's actually a cool idea for a team. Ryperior. Rock polish is kind of mad because it's just like you don't get the bulk that Ryperior can do. We're gonna go with the Superior set. And then we're going to go to Jirachi. Let's go with specially defensive. So against this, Ironhead is breaking this up. But we're not going to be running this 194, whatever spread. We're going to go 252, 252, 252. Befitting of a Pokemon that just has big numbers, do big damage. And with the type of teams that Ryperior fits on, it doesn't really need the speed. So if you look at that, like, uninvested Jirachi Ironhead doesn't always break the sub. I'm like, that's just a super effective move. Because Solid Rock is busted. And then there's all sorts of things that, like, it's just a nifty scenario. Like, oh, Blissey. Like, you have those 100, you have above 100 HP subs. You already scare out Blissey. Like, this thing is a menace. So, we're going to shift back to our showdown view. Pardon the calculator. So, what type of team does Ryperior fit on? Like, you could feasibly just slap Ryperior on most teams where you would possibly a Tyranitar, depending on the set. Possibly just like a general physical attacker. But that's just giving into the gray ocean of, well, these Pokemon kind of do similar things. We want to focus on Ryperior's specialties. That is, it's a rock type, and it hits really, really hard, but it's super slow, and it's really weak to grass and water types. Grass types, like, you can kind of deal with, because there's just, like, Breloom as the best one, then maybe you'll run into a Celebion ladder, which is probably the best case, like, the best argument for Megahorn. So, how do we augment these things? Also, it dies to nearly any special attack. But that can be remedied very easily just by adding Sandstorm to the team. So, while it might seem a little odd to have these two slow, like, physical rock types on the team, we're going to go with Tyranitar as a partner. And, like, the Sandstorm boost from Tyranitar Sand does quite a lot to help out our boy Ryperior here. Like, let's go to, what's a good example? Latios? And, no, Latias. Let's go with Choice Scarf. See, it's dealing about 73 to 87 with Draco Meteor. But in the sand, that gets cut down to almost, like, less than 50. And with leftovers, you're barely taking anything. Like, that just bounces right off this 55 base special defense Pokemon. And then, like, let's go to Specs Latias. Specs. Now, Surface, like, still gonna OHKO by a while. But, like, if you look at that, Dragon Pulse, that's not a 2-hit KO. Like, that's a rare 2-hit KO. Draco Meteor, you're living that after rocks. Not after layer spikes, but in rocks. But like, you're living that almost after layer spikes. Yeah. So you like Rhyperior's special defense in sand is not to be underestimated. It survives some nuts stuff. But that doesn't fix the speed issues for Ryperior. So that's why we have other teammates. It's probably good to get a lead down. We could have Tyranitar as our lead, of course. But for teammates, we're going to want something that complements Tyranitar and Ryperior quite nicely. Now, we can go with a very bulky Tyranitar, but we could also go with a very, or a mixed to lure, for example, Skarmory to break down Ryperior. That is, because this Ryperior set kind of needs to get up a Swords Dance to threaten Skarmory at all. So maybe a Fire Blast is an option. But both of these Pokemon are Water weak, Ground weak, Grass weak, and slow. So let's add something kind of fast. And one of the best defensive pieces in the metagame is Latias. Now, we have a very strong physical breaker and a potentially second strong physical breaker or lure. So we could go all in with the Specs band Scarf type team where you're just all out offense. Or we could try it a little different way. Instead of having a whole team that each member of the team slams the opponent and tries to trade 1-for-1, they take a bunch of damage because you can't super switch around everything, but they're just dealing out crap tons of damage. We want a Ryperior-centered team. We don't want this team where Ryperior comes in, does 80% to finishes off a Metagross that's at 80%, and then just gets picked off because you can't switch around the follow-up Specs Latias. So, I think we're going to go with the old standby Para Latias. So, leftovers. 96 speed EVs to outspeed, I believe it's Jolly Heatran and Adamant Lucario. 96 speed EVs, almost full HP, 4 Spadef, and just pump that defense stat. Go bold even. Now this thing's living crunch from offensive T-Tar. Not banded, but still. So, what do we want on this thing? Recover, because it's bulky. I put a Recover in a lower slot. Probably Dragon Pulse or Draco Meteor. Ice Beam. But I like having Stab. Then Thunder Wave, which is the main draw of this bulky Latias. It's going to pair a lot of stuff for our Ryperior and Tyranitar. They bait in the rock, not the rock. They bait ground moves and water moves. Latias switches in, gets free T-Wave. For the last move, you can have a lot of things. You could have Calm Mind, you could have Refresh, Surf, Toxic, also Wish. Wish is a good one. Roar. But we're going to go Reflect. Because Ryperior, it's subs, as you saw with that Jirachi calc earlier, where it was Jirachi had a roll to break Ryperior's sub. There's a lot of moves like that. Or there's just a lot of moves that do 30% or 40% to Ryperior. But, they're all physical moves. But under Reflect, Ryperior suddenly, unless you've got a good special attacker on the team, it's really hard to break that thing's subs. It's really hard. So, and also Reflect helps Latias against T-Tar a lot, because it kind of sucks when you get pursued. So, next up, we have a pretty almost a decent balanced team, but if we want our T-Tar, let's figure out our T-Tar set, and we can work from there. We could go like a leftovers, a Pasho to... Pasho's actually, for Starmie, sounds kind of nice. But, yeah, that actually sounds really nice. There's also another set that can pretty reliably trap Starmie, though. That's Banded. Pursuit, Crunch, Stone Edge, and Superpower, Earthquake. Your choice. I like Superpower. Max HP, because we got Para from our Latias, so neither of these guys need much speed. And then, like, this T-Tar just gonna come in. It can take Starmie Surf and just obliterate it with Crunch or Pursuit. And that'll be nice. Doesn't do too well against Suicune, but a Pashotar doesn't really help in that matchup either. Latias is more of a go-to there. But this is an offensive team. We don't need to cover everything defensively. But what Banded on Tyranitar means is that it's really hard to fit rocks on this guy. So we're probably not using it as a lead. So we want something that is going to give us a good lead matchup and do everything common. And hence, Uxie, one of the most traditional, like the forerunner, literally, of the Paraspam archetype, which is probably where Ryperior fits best. And I know, like, Paraspam can kind of really suck to play against on ladder, and, like, especially if they've got him a champion back, it's just, like, well, time to flip a coin and probably queue up another game. But that's not why we're using this. See, like, Para and the free turns are nice and all, and we will absolutely be able to abuse those with subbing down on Ryperior to fish your Para drop, full Paras. But the goal, mostly with this paralysis spam, is to lower key targets on the enemy team's speed so that Ryperior is faster. And that allows it to pose a very competent sweeping threat. So, just Psychic, Stealth Rock, Thunder Wave, and U-Turn. We're probably not going to get much leverage out of some of the other moves, like Knockoff, which is a great one. I mean, I kind of see Memento or Light Screen. That might be nice. Trick Scarf could be okay. But we have to give up on some of our bulk. But yeah, I feel pretty good about this. So we got our good lead. We've got our heavy physical offense pokes. We've got our defensive. We've got a pretty decent defensive backbone with Latias, but we're kind of not the best against special attacks still. Just like general special attacks, like Gengar. Oh my goodness, Gengar just murders this team. Like Will-O-Wisp sets just ruin Tar. Offensive Focus Blast stuff. Like Tar is taking a single hit, so if they've got like Starmie Gengar, which is not unreasonable, then Tar is not trapping either. This Tar is like, it's an offensive threat first and a trapper second. It's still pretty great at like removing stuff, but it tends to be very heavily damaged afterwards and is not coming in on too much after that. So let's go with my favorite, Spadef Jirachi. This thing is a menace, and it pairs really nicely with our Paraspam idea. Iron Head, Body Slam, because we have two electric type para moves and 2 thunder waves. So it might, like, we can paralyze ghosts pretty okay, and like, which is what Body Slam can't paralyze, and Body Slam gives us a route to bait in like ground types and that want to EQ the Jirachi and para them. So the Ryperior can EQ them and later in the game. So let's go with just Wish Protect in the back, because we have Stealth Rock on Uxie. Just the standard spread works really great. Enough speed to outspeed max speed T-Tar. Just good benchmark in general. You're still taking all the hits you can need. And Wish gives some interesting routes. Because, like I said earlier, Tar doesn't usually get more than one KO or like a couple bandit hits off if it's like trading blow for blow. Wish can kind of alleviate that with good play, where you get Tar on a double, and like Yuxi's kind of the same thing. While it's not dealing out massive blows, it certainly is a limit. It is easy enough to wear down. This thing is not staving off threats for the rest, like for most of the game. It's gonna pivot in, it's gonna lead off the game, get a Thunderwave Stealth Rock off, and U-turn out, and then come in once or twice more to sponge a hit and U-turn or Thunderwave. But with Wish on Jirachi, Yuxi suddenly has a route to get healed, and you can restore lost HP from substitutes on Ryperior, maybe aid Latias. It's just good overall support. Now, for the last member, it can be a lot of things. But as of right now, also there's an alternative which you can use to Latias, which I didn't mention. Starmie. Leftovers, always natural cure. Surf, rapid spin, Thunderwave, recover. You can just pretend that was rapid spin all along. Could be a lot of things here. Could be the standard spread. Could also be bold, because losing Latias, which was our physically defensive mon, we really like this team really appreciates the ability of Starmie to take a couple strong physical hits. But what this does, and why I think on this team Latias is probably the better choice, is that Starmie kinda falters pretty quickly against some major threats to this team. DD Guerra is a menace, and Bold Starmie can easily falter to a Lum or just a Life Orb if it's taken a little bit of chip. And Starmie also gets pursued a lot more easily. And this team doesn't really need rapid spin on it. But possibly the bigger deal is just that, like, Latias just covers so much more. And it gives you a line into SD Lucario. It is more easily able to cripple foes. And it's got Levitate. Because look at this team. You've got 3 EQ weeks, and we might be adding a 4th. And Yuxi, as we already mentioned earlier, like even with Jirachi's Wish, that's not consistent that you'll be wishing to Yuxi. Yuxi's gonna falter pretty quickly. And a lot of EQ mons, like your DDers, your Flygons. Like Flygon will just U-turn on Yuxi. DDers have their stab moves for it. Tar just crunches it into oblivion. Does pretty great into Swampert. And like Gliscor, you've got a pretty favorable matchup into, but Taunt and Roost, you can't really do anything to it. Hippo, you're fine into. Like, this team is not we want this team to be sound enough to play for an end game where we para a lot of stuff for Ryperior and Tyranitar to get some major damage in. And that's going to require a lot of not a lot of turns, but like, it's not just going to be straight off attack from the bat. So, I think Latias is the better choice, but Starmie is definitely usable here. But it does make us a little bit more vulnerable to Skarmory, which is a huge terror for this team. Like, Banded Tyranitar is not getting through Fizdef. Ryperior needs some Swords Dances to do anything to it. Jirachi's completely walled. That's one of the arguments for running Thunder on Jirachi. This Latias just gives free spikes to Skarmory. And Yuxi doesn't do much to it either. So, we want to route into Skarmory. And probably the easiest the easiest go-to is Magnezone. And that's alright. Like, Magnezone's pretty great at its job. But it doesn't always do a ton outside of the Scar matchup. So it can be pretty decent. And, like, traps Bronzong, which is a huge plus. Bronzong also mauls this team. Like, even just, like, offensive Trick Room is a nightmare and a half to deal with, which is, like, it's, like, Magnet Rise Magnezone is better at dealing with offensive Trick Room Bronzong than the Pokemon we're going to add in this final slot. But it's not entirely sound into it. Latias or Jirachi is probably your best bet to just, like, reflect and stall out the Trick Room turns. So Magnezone is definitely an option. But I like the idea of, like, Magnezone, it runs Thunder Wave, right? But, like, it's not that good at spreading para. It's good at parrying certain targets, the steals. And Latias is pretty good at that already. Jirachi is pretty good at that already. And Uxi's decent at it. And Magnezone, you already, like, it doesn't necessarily bait in Skarm. Like, Skarm sees a Magnezone, like, then they have to play careful. And it's a little reactive. But what another lure for Skarm, like, words. So instead of magging the Skarm, this team might want to, also, like, Scarf Magnezone would probably be a great fit here, too, because we don't have a Scarfer. And, like, sometimes, even though you're spreading para on everything, it's nice to have a Scarfer, like, maybe even Scarf Tar. But also, like, I think I see an opportunity here to play with a pretty fun set on a Pokemon that's not seen a lot outside of the lead slot. Metagross. Mash, EQ, Explosion, Trick. I believe it's 16 speed. No, it's 20. And we can take that out of attack. See, Magnezone is, like, nice and all. Great against steals. But it's not the absolute threat that Metagross is. Metagross is going to take a hit for the team and slam something in return, and its explosion is going to decimate something. And it really fits with the whole theme of strong physical breaker, physical breaker, physical breaker. All of them are 252, almost. And they have a substantially high attack stat and HP stat. So but they don't, like, have a ton of defense. They don't switch into things throughout the entire game. They take a couple, like, one or two big hits and dish out their own big hits. But this Metagross, like, if you look at it, it's walled by Skarmory. Until you add an Iron Ball. And now you've got a lure. Meteor Mash EQ, Skarm Food. So you're tricking an Iron Ball. Now Skarmory is weak to Earthquake. And suddenly Skarmory goes from countering the entire team to being mortally afraid of half of it. Also, Iron Ball does a whole lot more than that. Like, you can trick Iron Ball onto a DDer that has Lum that you couldn't paralyze. And the 20 speed is so that it outspeeds max speed Starmie if it tricks an Iron Ball onto it. So, we've got our Paraspam team. There's a ton of permutations you can build off this, and, like, also, though, like, Metagross can be Magnezone, as previously mentioned. Latias can be Starmie, but then at that point you want something to cover the ground weakness, the very heavy ground weakness, and that's another reason why Metagross is kind of nice, is because in most scenarios it can take an EQ and trick the Iron Ball. So let's look at how this team plays. We should probably be using a different account. This one's on pretty low ladder, but c'est la vie. How much can you see? Let's go to this. I'm gonna go here. Now, Q kind of sucks sometimes, so I'm just gonna skip to when Q is good again. Okay, well, I hope that recording paused for the duration that there was no commentary or gameplay. So, Metagross lead. Ideally, it's just like all-out attacking with Focus Sash, or even better, like a Rock Sash. So we're just gonna Thunder Wave here. Lumberry, we get a lucky miss. So we're just gonna parry this thing. The idea behind leading with Thunder Wave is so that maybe you parry them so they don't get rocks, or they miss an attack, and you burn a potential Lumberry, because it's nice to have Metagross parried. Ooh, we like that. We actually really like that. It's not gonna EQ here, so we're gonna go to Metagross. Metagross is great to come in early, trick the Iron Ball, and then be a threat later in the game, but you don't want it. Yes. Actually, let's calc. The best friend, the calculator, is here. Also, I hope my calculator layout looks pretty good, because I spent some decent amount of time on it, and I think it looks rather nice. Dragonite. OU offensive Dragon Dance, which is most likely what you're seeing on a Metagross lead team. Taking 83 from EQ. Meteor Mash is doing 60. Doing 60. Ooh, it's a roll to kill. We're gonna go Yuxi. Perfect. Now we just click Thunder Wave. Thunder Wave for your turn. I like Thunder Wave here just because if it DDs, it is a threat. DD Dragonite is a pain for this team. He could easily... So, like, Flygon is a pain for this team. This team does not like it. At all. It's not a fun thing. But Yuxi can take a U-turn, and I just don't want him to get the idea that he can, EQ my Metagross to the switch in. So now I get the slow turn out. But yeah, that's probably the thing I would change most about this team in later drafts, is find a variant that is better into Flygon. Kingdra also sucks to see. Like, we don't want to see Kingdra. But gives us a free line of Jirachi. Don't use Dragon Dance Kingdra, people. Just PSA, it's bad. Don't do it. Like, save yourself the time. What is he? Oh, I was really hoping for a waterfall there. It's fine. He's not gonna outrage. Yeah. So now we just click Dragon Pulse, and it dies. He's got a kind of Dragon Spam thing going on, and I kind of like it. Like, this is kind of nice. So, either he rocks or booms here. Doesn't super matter. Because this team, like, one of the nice things about this team is it does not care about playing into rocks. Latias, like, lives boom, by the way. Like, it just lives that. It's just fine. I'm just going to go to Metagross. Like, time to get some value out of this thing. Mamoswine. We're behind a Reflect. I'm going to trick this thing. Ah, see, look at Reflect putting in the work. See, now our Metagross is a threat. We mash something, and we're going to boom on something later in the game. Oh, and we're Life Orb, too. So boom is really going to sting. We'll probably get Metagross in on the opponent's Metagross once more. And that's when we just launch the move. Oh! Well, scratch that about being able to boom with Meta. Okay. So, what are the threats to this team? Mamoswine is Iron Ball, so it no longer matters. Kingdra is paralyzed, but probably is Chester Resto. Dragonite is scary. Flygon is scary. Magnezone is annoying. Click U-turn. This is just like being like, hey, I'm going to para you. And if he does something like that, we just go to Latias and don't care what button he clicks. He paras us, that's fine. We just clicked Reflect. A boom there could have been really nasty. So, he's... with Reflect up? I think we can go to Tar. Okay, Outrage, we're just going to crunch him. Tar is not a super, like, useful mon here. We're just going to use it to trade. And this should be Flygon from him. Why? But why? Sir? You could have gotten parried. And are you ready to see Ryperior have some fun? We're going to click sub. Because we're behind a Reflect. And this thing's parried. So either he full paras here, he can miss mash, he can just come in with Flygon. Flygon is another reason, like, for Ice Punch on this thing. Because Flygon is just such a problem for this team. You really rely on paraing with Jirachi so that your Latias can murder it later. So, we're going to see what he does here. Because Stone Edge is going to slam something. And if he EQs, I just get to go to Uxie. Let's see, look at that resisted damage. And after that exchange, Ryperior's not lost much. We have a free Uxie. You can't really punish it. And seeing as what the rest of his team looks like, we can just click Psychic and get some chip off. On the... Nah, U-turn is better here. The problem with U-turn is that we get forced into Latias if he stays in, which I don't know why he would. Okay, Mamoswine, that's a non-factor. Times you go back to... Oh, I should have shifted off the calc screen. I am so sorry for putting you through looking at such a small screen. Also, this is not... I'm not expecting this to go watched by anyone, because I'm doing this for my own entertainment. Alright, Jirachi. Maybe I'll look back at this in like several years and be like, whoa, this guy was having some weird ideas. Effective ideas, probably. Mamoswine. Physical attacker. Ironhead is doing 57. Let's remove that calc. Jirachi. And because Iron Balled, we're guaranteed to outspeed this guy. Flygon's not going to like switching into this. So we're also saying, hey, Magnezone, do you want to come in here? Which I think is fine, because now what happens is we para it, and then we get a free Ryperior. Because, like, Thunderbolt doing nothing, we are Spadef boosted, Hidden Power fires, no chance to break our sub. A little unlucky. This guy leftovers? Yeah, he should be. Leftovers Magnezone's pretty great. If he doesn't... I could maybe stall him out. Yeah, this might be a little boring if I do, though. I might get a co-commentator. Just run around mucking about with him. Doing whatever nonsense. Dude, you're clicking Hidden Power Fire. How long does it take you to click Hidden Power Fire? You're clicking a single move. Like, how long does it take? So we're just gonna body slam whenever we're not in range, and maybe just because Iron Head's not gonna break lefties, is it? Yeah, we're doing a paltry 3%. That's another reason for Thunder on Jirachi, because it does more. It's just like 14% instead of 9, which is brutal. Like, this is one of the saddest things about Spadef Jirachi. It's great and all. Like, it pairs the Magnezone and, like, it can beat Specs, which is kind of funny. Oh, hi. You got bored, didn't you? Okay. We're just gonna do this. Perfect. We're completely okay with that. Because we just click sub, predicting that he was gonna go to Flygon, but he bullet punched. So now we just EQ. Yeah, because if we click sub there, because if he stays in, no harm, no foul, we're still at decent health. And either we can just sub down until he full paras, which Ryperior can pretty effectively do. Yeah, okay. That's not gonna break the sub. Ryperior, again, is a beast. So it will be claiming a third KO, because Stone Edge kills Flygon. He should go into Flygon here every day of the week. Like, thank you. Stone Edge, please hit. It'd be awkward if you didn't. And, like, see, this is the beauty of Lefty sub. Because we're back at 88%. And Ryperior has now just won the game. We'll be claiming its next 2 Earthquake kills. And that's how Ryperior functions in DPPOU. Feel free to build your own team. Like, play with it. It's fun. Big number, do big damage. And click big number, move. And while that was a little bit longer... Oh, yeah, see, this is a little kind of low ladder. I should ladder this count up. This is mainly used for GSC laddering. But I kind of haven't used it for a while. Is it any good? Like, what's my GSC right now? Show them. Yeah, I haven't been playing much recently. I let my GSC tank. Anyhow. Peace. Use Ryperior.